8 schools, 14 teams competing. Last year, we had 22 teams, and I forget how many schools were competing because each school can have up to 2 teams. And this year, we hope to have 24 teams. I don't know why we landed on 24 as the magic number. I think because the National High School Ethics Bowl has always had 24 teams. And just logistically, I think 24 teams would be a good number. So it doesn't mean we need 24 schools because, as I just mentioned, each school can have up to 2 teams. There is a $50 registration fee this year, which we are looking to help with the virtual platform. Alex and NHSEB has been extremely generous, and we are grateful that they are going to allow us to use the platform that they have developed for the National High School Ethics Bowl. And I don't know, Alex, if you wanted to say anything about that, or Ariel, I know, who also serves on the board of the NHSEB.
Go ahead, Alex.
Alex.
Well, I was just going to say, like, Ariel, if you want to show them that quick video, you're more than welcome to, or I can do so, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. And I'll also drop a link in the chat if you all want to read more about this program.
Great, thank you, Alex. So clearly this is going to be a virtual bowl this year. And so, as I just mentioned, NHSEB has worked on this platform, and we're going to see it right now.
So just for a little clarity, essentially what we've done is build a web app platform on top of Zoom that integrates ethics bowl functionality like cases, scoring, breakout rooms for moderators, all sort of assignable at one click, that really facilitates and streamlines the process of administering ethics bowl online. And so we're taking all of the high school ethics bowls, regionals, and in fact, the high school ethics bowls nationals online with this program. And we're very excited, of course, to partner with Kent Place to bring it to the middle school ethics bowl as well, and to facilitate that. So that's something that we're really excited about, and more details and more images of what we're looking at. So yeah, Ariel has just popped up a screenshot, right, of a sketch, right? We're not quite finished yet with our design process. As you saw in the video, this will launch in January, but the idea is to sort of bring the Zoom interface into the web browser and add sort of ethics bowl functionality on top of it. So you can do things like coin flips and breakouts and share cases, time the breakout rooms automatically, automate the assignments of the breakout rooms, and then of course like enjoy things like automated score reporting and things like that. So we're really excited to bring this to the high school ethics bowl and to share it with the middle school ethics bowl as well.
So I have one question, not to jump way ahead, but one of the differences between the National High School Ethics Bowl and the Middle School Ethics Bowl is that we, unlike the high school, we allowed the middle schoolers to have note cards for the presentation portion instead of having them to memorize all of that. And we didn't let them, they didn't read a script. We had them just have bullet points. So with the virtual platform, has there been a change of rules or an expectation of whether or not students can use notes as part of presentations and part of the whole discussion?
On the high school side, we're sort of taking that in stride. So we're going to issue some rule guidances here in the next few weeks, actually, as we start to roll out the app, which essentially state that we're using a kind of honor system whereby, like, we expect our teams to proceed as normal, but that we have no interest in sort of like becoming police officers, right? And
Right,
and
it's an
chasing
ethics
them down
bowl.
to do it. That's the idea, right? There's something deeply uncomfortable about assuming a kind of like security theater posture on an ethics bowl. But that's not to say that those features, like the technical features of the platform, make no presumptions about that, right? So it's just as easy to recommend that students do have note cards, that do have materials in front of them, just as long as judges are instructed accordingly on what to expect. The platform itself remains kind of agnostic about it.
Okay, great. And please, everyone, anyone, ask questions all along the way. And I'm happy we're joined by Roberta Israeloff, who is the Executive Director of the Squire Family Foundation. Roberta, did you want to say hello?
Good to see you all here. Hi, everybody. Sorry I came late. And this is very exciting to get the middle school on board with this. We're at the high school level, we're talking about a pipeline and connecting middle school with high school all the way into college, because there's an intercollegiate ethics bowl. If you've been over this already, I apologize, but it would be great to have students go from middle school, all the way through, and then become coaches and judges.
Great. Thank you, Roberta. Okay, so back to the Middle School Ethics Bowl. For the New Jersey Bowl, as I mentioned, there's a $50 fee. However, we will certainly cover the $50 registration fee. We don't want that to be prohibitive in any way. We want as many schools as possible to be able to participate: public schools, private schools, charter schools, all of the above. So you just let us know. We just would like to be able to help out with the platform, which is why we are charging a $50 fee. So the two teams who make the final round of the New Jersey Bowl, now this is given that we have 24 teams, will automatically go to compete in the first National Middle School Ethics Bowl, the National Bowl, which will take place on April 24th, 2021. Right now, we have the National Bowl divided into the East Coast and the West Coast teams. We have people from Texas, from Oregon, from California. We're looking at the Middle Atlantic and also Boston to add more teams. So, but we're very dedicated to getting this off the ground this year, knowing that it will grow. I have no doubt in my mind, just as the New Jersey Bowl grew from 8 schools to 24 teams, 22 teams last year. So there'll be a virtual competition on April the 24th. And we have a Middle School Ethics Bowl site, which I saw Ariel click to before, where we have all of the information about the Middle School Ethics Bowl that you can read about. Okay, so the virtual bowl will take place on Saturday, March the 6th, the New Jersey Bowl 2021. We will start at 9 a.m. If we have 24 teams, we will end at 5:15. You can judge accordingly based on if we have less teams. Clearly, it won't take that much time. And so we will have 8 cases that the students will need to prepare. And the 8 cases that we use for the New Jersey Bowl will also be used for the National Bowl, so that the students would not have to prepare a whole new set of 8 cases. For the New Jersey Bowl, there will be 3 rounds, a semifinal round, and then a final round. And I just mentioned that the 2 teams who make the final round will go to the national, but in order to crown the New Jersey regional champion, we need to have a final. And so we will have a final anyway. The family members and teachers will watch through streaming. They won't be part of the Zoom platform. And the rounds will be recorded, which will mean that we'll need to get permission from you and from all the teams to be able to record all of the Zoom sessions. Your students can be in grades 6 through 8. You can have as many as 7 students on each team. So each school can have up to 14 students. Well, you can have more, but the beauty of Zoom, my dog is barking. You can have up to 7 students. You need at least 3 students to be competing to make a team. And not every single student has to speak in all the rounds. Some team members contribute more than others. We would like to have all the team members contribute. Ariel, you want to take it over while my dog is barking?
All right, sure. We're going to talk about the structure. Is that where you'd like me to go next, Karen? Okay. So because the event is going to be running through Zoom, and based on the feedback that we got last year from teachers and students who participated in the middle school bowl, we're going to be reworking the round structure of the rounds a bit to better accommodate what middle school students, are, so it's developmentally appropriate for them. So in terms of our schedule, we're scheduling 70-minute rounds, which break down into a 5-minute presentation by Team A of a case. And then instead of the response to the presentation like we had last year, is going to be an open dialogue between the 2 teams, with the non-presenting team starting the dialogue off with a question. So more conversational. So Team B will say something in response to Team A's presentation. Team A will respond and present another question or help continue the conversation. And then Team B will talk and we'll go back and forth. And we'll have a new rubric to reflect how we're going to score that new portion of the round. And then after that 10-minute dialogue, there will be 10 minutes of questions and answers from the 3 judges on the panel that will be directed only to the presenting team. And that's the first section of the round. And then we do it again with Team B presenting, and you repeat. So about 70 minutes per round, I think, is how I did the math.
So, and one of the reasons why we have been working to change the structure, Roberta has been very involved as well, is we wanted to keep all of the kids engaged for the whole round. The way it was structured in the past, like Ariel just said, is we had a 5-minute presentation from Team A, Team B responded for 3 minutes, and then Team B was out of it for the rest of that half of the round. And so this way, they are going to really have to interact with each other, because one of the goals of the Ethics Bowl is to really help the students to expand their thinking and to contribute to their ethical understanding of whatever the case is about. And so we will provide you with the rubric so that you know how to prepare your students, but we're really hoping that this makes for a much more engaging time for the students on both teams throughout the entire round. Are there any questions about that?
A quick question. Will this document be shared, perhaps?
Yes.
Yes, all of the
Thank
information
you.
is up on our website. And I
Okay.
also shared a link to the document in the chat,
Thank you.
as well as I just shared the 8 case set in the chat, but that's also on our New Jersey middle school ethics bowl site. So over here, case set, schedule, structure, and information for
Great.
judges and coaches.
Just one caveat, the actual rubric and score sheet, because we had to, as we changed rubric, we had to change the score sheet as well, are kind of still in the process of being finalized. So I'm not sure if they're up there, but if they are, just be aware that there might be slight changes to them as we move forward, but they'd be minimal. The basic structure is there.
Yes, and I do think it's going to be very exciting. We want it. I mean, there's no doubt that the middle school students are so excited and so involved in this. I mean, it really is very exciting to see. And this, I think, is just going to make the competition even more exciting and engaging for the students. You know, they only have the capacity for so much. So what we were finding was after the presentation and the response, and then the response to the response, they started saying the same things with just little differences. So this will give them a chance to really think more broadly.
And we're so excited about it that I'm interested in seeing how it works out at the high school level at some point. Not this year, we have enough on our hands, but in the future, depending on how it works, it seems like a pretty exciting new format.
I have a quick question. I think it sounds really cool. Actually, I'm excited to see it play out.
So are we.
Is the open, and I think some of this would be answered if we saw the rubric and criteria stuff down the line. But is there any kind of presumption, other than the non-presenting team putting the question out there first, of a certain kind of balance of participation in the conversation? Like there's a kind of de facto leader, like the non-presenting team is sort of facilitating it, or is it just truly open? It's a conversation that can go in any number of ways, that sort of thing?
We don't really know how this is going to work out. We're going to talk to the judges about the possibility of stepping in if the conversation seems to go off track or take a wrong turn. I mean, we're really doing this as an experiment, and we'll have to see how it goes. Our sense, the only time I've had experience with open dialogue is during a training session for the high school bowl on Long Island. And the kids were terrific at monitoring themselves and keeping it going. How the younger kids will do, I'm not sure, but yeah, we don't really know how that's going to work. We'll just have to see.
And actually what we talked about yesterday is perhaps having two teams do a demo or model it or try it out. And then we can record it and we can send it to you. So you're absolutely right. I do think it'll work out, especially if we as the coaches, you know, kind of explain to the kids, you know, in this open dialogue, if you're not the presenting team, you know, be listening. And that's that's a part of the rubric, that they're actually listening to what was said by the other team and able to respond to it. And each other, so that they were truly engaged and listening and adding to the conversation. And then there was one question at the end that we asked about what was the most important ethical perspective that the team brought to the conversation. So
that we'd
yeah.
ask Team B to, at the end, to say what the main point that they raised was, which we thought was a really interesting addition.
So, and I think they'll be up to the challenge again if we prepare them for it. So we are going to test it out and then we'll record it and we'll send it to you. We'll have to find a team who'll be willing to be the testers. So, okay, other questions?
Yeah, just I'm
Gerard,
completely
sorry.
new to this. So help me understand what this would look like in terms of the months of preparation that would go into it. So the students would be presented with these 8 cases and they would be talking them out during their meetings and as presumably taking notes and maybe researching different approaches to ethical decision making and kind of coming to a consensus around what their collective perspective is, right? And then when on the day of the bowl, they would be allowed to have note cards in which they had some bullet point talking points, but they're certainly not reading from a script. And it's up to them to also organize some kind of strategy around who's going to speak first, how many of them are going to speak first, who might be like who might address questions in response to the other team and things like that. Is that right? Okay.
Absolutely. And so the teamwork, you know, they know like who can speak, like who can speak off the cuff, who, you know, who's a really good note taker, because they're able to take notes on what the other team is saying.
Yeah.
So they really have to figure out how they function best as a team. We can show you, I think we have a sample in this doc of a case that was used in the past, working while sick. So we're going to post the 8 cases next week on Monday. And so this is not one of them. This is one from the past. And so the students will get the case. And this case is about a person who goes to work while sick because she has to go to work while sick because she has to provide for her family. But is she putting everybody else at risk? And, the business, so, who are the stakeholders? And so basically, is it ethical for Katie to work while sick? So we will give you the case and we will give you the question that will be asked so that the students will know how to prepare. And so in their sessions, they'll talk about, why some think she should go to work, why others think she shouldn't go to work. What are some of the ethical principles? Why do you think that way? What are some of the values that you're thinking about? And then they, of course, have to come to a decision. And in presenting their decision or what they think is the most ethical response to that question, they demonstrate that they really understood both sides. And so that's also part of the scoring rubric. And again, you will get the scoring rubric ahead of time so that what the judges are looking for. There are 3 judges. That hasn't changed, right? There are 3 judges in each round. A round consists of the A team presenting a case, and then that whole thing with the dialogue and the judges' questions, and then the B team presents a case. And the cases, they don't know which case is which at the beginning of the round. It's done by a flip of the coin of who presents first. And then once they know who presents, then they find out what the case is, but it's one of the 8. And then the 3 judges score each round, and the teams that get the most judges votes,
Teams.
and then so it's by judges votes first, and then it's by points, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it's that way. It's a little more complicated than that, but yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I heard that correctly, that so that they prepare for the bowl by deeply considering all 8 of the cases, but then on the day of the bowl, it's only one that they're asked to present on? No? Oh,
They'll be asked to present on 4 based on the, in each of the rounds. So they don't know which one they're going to present on, but they'll have to be prepared for all 8 because again, they don't know which one, but they're also going to have to be involved in this open dialogue to talk about the case in a way that shows that they really prepared for all the ethical issues in the case.
But there are 2 cases, just to be clear, there are 2 cases per round so that each team gets a chance to present on a new case. So there's 2 cases per round. So if there's 4 rounds, that's why there's 8 cases. Okay.
okay.
And every school, all the teams in the round are doing the same 2 cases, like round 1, they'd be case 8 and case 10. And then each individual match, the same 2 cases are presented to those teams.
Okay. And so as it progresses throughout the day, are teams eliminated throughout the day, or does every student participate in the equal amount of, is every student who participates in this guaranteed an equal amount of presentations?
Well, every student, the way we have it structured right now, and I think we'll need more than 8 cases. The way we have it structured is all the students, all the schools will participate in 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tally up the scores, but they'll be tallied for us on this great new platform. So we won't be sitting there counting. We tally up the scores, and then we see the top 4 score getters will be in the semifinal rounds. And then the 2 winners of the semifinal round will compete in the final round. And the 2 will go to the national. But as I mentioned earlier, for the sake of naming the New Jersey Bowl champion, we will have a final round.
So I'm thinking about timing. If we have our 24 teams and we have 4 rounds, every school needs to commit to being available from 9 to 2 with a lunch break. Because after 2, that's when there's the semifinals and the final rounds, in which everybody's welcome to watch in the live streaming platform, but they won't be on. There will only be 4 teams on at 2 and then 2 teams on at 3-ish.
So one of the things also is we need judges, right? So we need judges and moderators. And so as we did last year, and there'll be a volunteer sheet. If you know of anyone, we asked each school maybe to contribute one judge at least. So because we have to get quite a few judges. So if you know anyone, and again, it's the ability to listen. They don't have to be ethicists themselves, but people who can listen and engage, with the students in a way that's meaningful.
And I believe that Alex at UMC is creating a whole bunch of training videos for
Oh,
moderating.
wonderful.
And we've compiled a list of questions for judges because we found that we like to bring people in to be judges who aren't ethicists or philosophers, and some of them were at a loss. So we've compiled a list of questions, most of them kind of generic questions about content, but also a couple of questions about the process, which are particularly revealing, like which of your positions did you feel least confident in, which is a really good question that a psychologist suggested to us. So I'll forward that to you, Karen and Ariel, and if you want to put it on the site, it's really helpful for new judges so they don't feel like they have to come up with a completely original question, because it's hard. I judged one ethics bowl. It was the hardest thing I ever did. So not to scare anybody off, but it's challenging.
Mm-hmm. It is challenging. And Ariel, you just judged over the weekend, last weekend, a virtual platform.
Yeah, and Alex was the producer for my round, so you got to be the tech side of it. It went well. We did not have a fancy platform like we will have, and there were very little issues. And I think the one thing I would say that the teams that were well prepared, that did well, that I would think you might want to keep in mind for your middle schoolers, is because the teams will have like a visual of everyone when they're passing their presentation off to somebody else on the team. It's helpful if they're like, and so my colleague Sarah is going to explain X, so that it's not just like they're just talking and then they're done, and then everybody's like, did she cut out, or who's going next? So having them practice naming each other and practicing on Zoom, I think, might be helpful for coaches with your teams.
The other thing too, and I've done it in the first 2 years, is I'm happy to help any of the coaches if you're like, could you come to one of the coaching one of the sessions with the students? So I've done that for the schools in the past, and I'm happy to do that so that you can feel comfortable with what you're doing. Will we need, now I'm probably directing this to Alex and Ariel, will we need any kind of training about the platform, or will it be self-explanatory?
We're hoping to make those two ends meet.
Okay.
So we're hoping that it is intuitive to the point of being largely self-explanatory, but we're also planning on releasing some short videos that essentially cover like a quick start basics kind of approach to each role.
Okay.
So a little bit of both.
Okay, great. That's great because I need it to be intuitive, as will some. I mean, it's the last thing you want to be worried about, right? So are there other questions? Ariel, am I leaving anything out? Are we leaving anything out? Yes, Gerard.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Do teams typically mix grades? I saw grade 6 to 8. Is it common for a team to have 2 6th graders, a 7th grader, and 3 8th graders? And do you have any recommendations around managing that?
At Kemp Place, we mixed the teams. So we had 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders on each one of the 2 teams. Because we didn't want to make just one whole 8th grade team, because, for the sake of the team combination, we thought it would be a better mix.
It's also good because the younger students, the 6th graders will be 7th graders next year, and they can help recruit. There'll be some constant there. So we try to do that in high school too, mix them up, rather than have a senior team, or to have so there's continuity.
Right. I'm just thinking that in our school, we're not mixing grades. And I imagine that a lot of this work, I mean, we can have 15 eighth graders in a room together, and but we can't have like 2 sixth graders and 2 eighth graders and so on. So I'm just,
Oh,
I think that might
understand.
like engender like a better sense of camaraderie and team if like they have at least a couple of in-person
Meetings.
meetings under their belt. So just kind of balancing those two.
Well, this is an unusual year, so
Yes.
whatever works, whatever works for you. I mean, ideally, we like to mix it up, but it's so different than a normal year, so.
Right. Okay.
And when thinking about the day of the competition, there's no expectation that like all of the students are together in the same room. Like at our school, we have these D10, so you can see like the whole class virtually. Like you're welcome to do that if that's what you're allowed to do in your school and you think that would be good for your team. But you're also it's also acceptable to have each student log in on a separate Zoom.
Right. Yeah. I imagine that's what it would be. Yeah.
Any other questions, or Ariel, did we leave anything out?
Nope, I don't think so.
Well, we hope that all of you will be